Okay, so I'm going to be taking you guys through basically my editing process. The programs that I use are Lightroom and Photoshop, and I have a couple plugins in there that I use as well. So the first thing I do is to check to see if the crop is good, and as you can see, it's a little bit off. She's way too far down, so I'm going to crop a little bit farther in and make it a lot more appealing. And I always like adding a little bit of contrast to the photo. That can be done with the contrast slider right there, or by increasing the black clipping, and I do a little bit of both. And I'm pretty happy with the way the highlights turned out, and as you can see, there's some skin imperfections that I will be editing as well. But that's done in Photoshop. So this is basically where I just mess with the color and stuff and make sure it looks good. So it looks, I can do a little bit more sharpening, and yeah, so I think I'm going to take it into Photoshop now and show you how I edit the skin. The way I do skin editing is with something called frequency separation. What you do is you duplicate the layer 3 times. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, 10 pixels should be about good. You put it on layer 1. Layer 1 copy, I like working in 8-bit images right there because it runs a lot faster and you can't really see that much of a difference. Image, apply image, layer 1, and see it's at 2, the scale's at 2, the offset's at 128, and the blending mode is on subtract. And if you do it right, it should look just like this. And you set that top layer, the blending mode, to linear light. And it looks exactly the same, but what I've done is I've separated the photo into 2 different layers. There's actually 3. There's the base layer, there's a color layer right here, which I just am selecting, and the detail layer, which is right here. And I'm going to duplicate layer 1, the blur layer, filter, blur, surface blur. And you can see the settings that I'm reusing right here, 63 and 73, but you can tweak this to your liking. This is just basically where I found it to be good. And this is basically the texture that we're going to be going for, but of course this looks really ridiculous, and we only want it in select areas and not too much. So what we're going to do after it finishes processing is we're going to apply a layer mask to it. So you do that by holding that Alt and click on this little button right there, and there you go, layer mask. It looks like it's never happened, but it's still there. So what we're going to do is this is going to be the skin smoothing portion. We're going to select the brush on white and put the opacity to around a low one, but I like working on 24. And this is the part where you just carve and paint the areas where you want to look smoother, which is basically the entire skin. You want to make sure you don't hit the eyes, the eyebrows, or the hair, or the teeth, because it'll look really bad. So I think I'm going to fast forward through this section because it takes a little bit of a while. Okay, so that's a pretty good job. So what it does is it blends the highlights and the shadows together to make the skin look a little more seamless, which is exactly the effect. So it looks like this now, but before we did that, it looked like that. This, that, this, that. This, that, this. So the next step we're going to do is see these all little blemishes. We're going to go to the top layer, which is the detail layer. And before, what I used to do is before I figured out how to do frequency separation, is I just do clone stamping to try to fix the blemishes. And inevitably, it turned out like I looked like that I drew red crayon all over their faces, which is totally the opposite effect of what you want. So basically, what this does is you can take any portion of the skin, even though it's a different color, and it will take that the detail of the skin and transpose it, even though the colors are totally different, but the colors will be exactly the same, which is exactly what we want to do. So we're going to put it to the highest opacity, 100%, and make sure the hardness is still at 0, and you can select any portion of the skin which looks smooth to you, and just start transposing it. And this also takes a pretty long time, so I will fast forward through this section as well. Okay, so I'll show you the before of what I did. It used to look like this. And after frequency separation, it looks a little more like this. So you can see that the skin looks a little smoother. There's no blemishes anymore. And generally it looks a lot nicer. So what I do on every single portrait that I take is I use this free action. It's called Coffee Shop Perfect Portrait. And I'll show you what it does. And the first thing that it does is the levels. It's for contrast and exposure, but I think I got that pretty much nailed, so I'm going to skip right past that one. And now we're going to let it run. It's going to do lots of stuff. And yeah. Okay, now it's done running. So I'll go through these a little step by step. The first thing that I'm going to take away is the black and white conversion layer, because that's not something that I do, and I'm going to take away the vignette layer as well, because that's something that I can add in Lightroom, and it's a lot more easy to add in Lightroom and a lot more adjustable. And I'm going to delete the smooth skin layer as well, because that's something that we've already done with frequency separation, and I don't need the contrast or the brighten one either, because those are all things I can edit, and with those there, those aren't values that I can change, which is bad. So the first thing I'm going to work with is the thing that's remove red from skin. You can see that there's a little bit of red tones in the skin, and sometimes that's a little too much. And what we could do to fix that is we're going to click on the black layer mask there, select the white brush, low opacity of course, and just start painting the areas which you think are a little too red. And yeah, but fortunately I didn't really have much of a problem with that, so it's really minor what I have to do. You can see a tiny bit of a difference, but not much. And I don't need the vivid color one as well, because that's something I can do with the saturation tool as well. The second thing here is called the Urban Grit tool, but I can use that on the wall behind her, but I don't think it's really necessary because it's pretty sharp already. But for the sake of this, I'll just show you what it does. You probably use a little bit of a higher opacity there. It's making it look a little more saturated and sharp, but that's not really what I want to see. So I'm just going to delete this one too. And this is a really useful one. It's called the white teeth one layer, and she's taking pretty good care of her teeth, so it's not something I have to fix. But for the sake of this, again, I'll just show you what it does. You want to be on a low opacity. I'll show you what it does in 100% opacity. It looks really bad. So yeah, we'll take that away. So we're going to set on lower opacity and again start brushing on the whiteness. But again, that's not something that we need to do with her because she takes good care of her teeth.